What up, Rapalitos? Welcome back to my channel. We're back here in Prashad Nagar, now turning onto this short connecting street, which is Prashad Nagar Street. We saw this street before. What I want to do today is show you Munipur and Deobirana streets here in Prashad Nagar. So this wave of development, as I showed in the previous video, homes are being built taller and larger. You're getting these mega mansions. So what I want to do is show you what that means for homes here in Prashad Nagar. Last time we came in this neck of the woods, we went along Amla Avenue. Instead of going along Amla Avenue, today we're going to go along Munipur and then come back down Deobirana to complete this circuit. This is like a circular road. We saw this home, which is recently being constructed to look like a home in North America, right? Somewhere in New York, for example. So this is the current wave of development and designs. This is the previous wave in the 90s and the early 2000s, right? Some of these homes, which were originally built in the 1960s, right, wooden construction, were converted into concrete homes in the 1980s. Yes, like I said, they were converted into concrete homes in the 1980s, and now in the 2000s, in 2022, they're being built larger. This is an empty lot. Well, not empty, but it used to have a home that was being built, but they didn't complete it. I'm pretty sure they're going to be snapped up to be built by somebody very soon. So this is what's happening here, guys. Now in that's some doggies. This is a pet friendly neighborhood, so everybody seems to have dogs in their yard. So these homes were converted to concrete homes in the 1980s. In that wave of development, you know, they started out as wooden homes like this one. That was the design in the 1960s. That was popular. They got converted to concrete homes in the 1980s, such as these. And after, so these are still in the 1960s format, some extensions. But after the 1980s, they started becoming much more, that's in the 1990s and early 2000s, becoming much more of a Indian architecture, like from the Indian subcontinent. But now this wave of development is seeing larger homes such as these, you know, which will be mega mansions for this neighborhood, built multi-story residences to maximize the square footage on the small lots, right? So they're building mega mansions on these smaller lots. So this is what the renovation in early 2000s, 1990s looked like. This is what renovation looked like in the 1980s, converting wooden homes to concrete homes. In the 1980s, the 1990s, they started looking much more like Indian architecture. In the 2000s, they started looking bigger with Indian architecture. Right, so this is what the conversions of, not the conversions, but the renovations of the 1980s looked like. Right, this is some interesting 1980s architecture where these houses had facades. They started building large concrete facades on what were usually wooden homes. And then in the 2000s, they started going towards, in the 1990s and 2000s, they started going towards Indian architecture. But now in 2020, they're being built bigger into Mac mansions, mega mansions. So this is Munipur Street. Remember we said we're gonna capture some of the footage on some of the streets we missed in the previous 2 days we were here. This is Munipur Street, and we're gonna go around this loop. It's a loop, and show you Deobirana on the other end of this loop. You have to complete the circuit. So this is Munipur Street in Prashad Nagar. As you can see, the homes are being built, renovated in the 2010s to look like this. All right, to be bigger, taller. But in the 2022 and beyond, they're being built. Oh, some more dogs. Here they are. Morning. So they're very pet friendly in this neighborhood. Well, actually they're guard dogs as well. So they're being renovated now in the 2020s to be much more North American, European and Canadian in their architecture. And so you're getting now the Mac mansions, the mega mansions, and the houses are getting bigger. So here we are completing this loop on, we just came up Munipur. This is Amla Avenue. We came down Amla Avenue yesterday. That's one of the homes we were looking at on Amla, the 2 loops of Amla. This is the home we chose to show you what Indian architecture looks like. Right, when we showed you the arches tend to be much more intricate. See those arches in the 1990s and the early 2000s. A lot of the architects who were building here in Guyana tended to copy their designs from the Indian subcontinent, and you get this kind of intricate arches. But now in the 2020s, you're getting much bigger homes. We actually looked at some of these yesterday. Right, you're getting much bigger homes, maximizing the square footage here on Amla. That's Amla Avenue, Amla Street or Amla Avenue. We saw that yesterday. What we're going to do today is just take the loop, complete the loop around Munipur and Deobirana. So now we're coming into Deobirana Street, which is parallel to Munipur. In this wave of renovations, homes are being built much bigger. And this is the dog that greeted us yesterday. More dogs. There you go. So this now is Deobirana. We're going to come around onto Deobirana Street here in Prashad Nagar, where renovations, you can see some of the renovations from the 1990s are still popular. Some of these homes are renovated in the 90s to look like, to be a concrete version of what the original home looked like. And then in the 2000s, once you got into early 2000s, you got Indian architecture. But now, in the 2010s and beyond, you got these homes that were built to look like homes in Ontario, Canada, and Georgia. Right, so this was the original architecture. We're now on Deobirana, that were renovated to look much more North American in the 2010s, in the last decade or so. Right, from the concrete homes in the 1980s, we're going now to this architecture of 2000s, early 2000s. More beds, there's some more dogs behind this fence greeting us. So this is what's happening here, guys. This is what's happening in Deobirana Street here in Prashad Nagar. The homes are reflecting the times and the architecture reflecting the decade in which they were either built or renovated, modified, rebuilt. This one probably built 10 years ago. Not only larger, but also showing much more of a North American flair. These were the original homes built in the 1960s. This is the size of home that was considered really large in the 1960s. But now, of course, they will be considered pretty tiny homes now in the 2020s. And of course, everybody is going to eventually upgrade because those are the times, right? Once your neighbor builds a bigger home, then eventually you build a bigger home. A lot of the people, of course, in Prashad Nagar, like elsewhere in Guyana, left to live in North America, in Canada, and the US, and are only now returning after being, living for almost a generation or more abroad, returning to retire and to rebuild their homes after having a successful life abroad. So a lot of the homes that are being built now are going to reflect where they came from or where they spent the last, couple of decades of their lives. Morning. So that's what we're looking at here on Deobirana Street in Prashad Nagar. We're looking at homes that were built in the 1960s, renovated in the 1980s, and again renovated in the 1990s. And now again in the 2010s and in the 2020s. This, for example, is a renovation in the 1980s next to one that was built in the 2000s and just a decade ago. In fact, this was probably completed in the last 10 years, just based on, maybe the last 5 years, just based on the architecture. The tall columns, which reflects Georgia architecture from Georgia, the state of Georgia in the US, and I think some of it is Southern America, the American South. This is a renovation in the 1980s. You see the brickwork. This was quite popular in the 1980s. The mosaic brick. This is a home that was built to be larger in the 1990s, I suppose, 2000s, early 2000s, and so on. So that's what's happening here, guys, in Prashad Nagar. That's Amla. We went up Amla, the other side of Amla Street, in yesterday's video. This is some of the architecture we missed yesterday. We're just basically completing what we missed in the last pass on Amla, back on Prashad Nagar Street and back out to, this is police outpost on Campbell Avenue. So that's what's up, guys. That's what's happening here in Prashad Nagar. We've seen Rohintal in the last video, Rohintal Street, and in this video we've seen Munipur and Deobirana here in Prashad Nagar. If you want to see more content like this, click like and subscribe. Share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening here in Georgetown and Guyana. Remember, leave in the comments below where else you'd like to see. Some people want to see Rahaman Park. We're going to get there eventually. And some people want to see more of the new developments in Bel Air. And we're going to get to those in future videos as well. Leave the comments below. Share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening here in Georgetown, Guyana, and in Prashad Nagar on Campbell Avenue. Later!